Members of the Council, officers of the Council, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for His Worship, the Mayor of Nuneaton and Bedworth, Councillor Bim Saru.
Good evening, everyone. Please take your seat. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It is after 6 p.m., so we'll start the meeting of full council. Going straight to item number 1, evacuation procedure. There is no fire drill expected, but if the alarm does sound, then please leave by the nearest fire exit and gather at the Lloyds Bank across the street. Item number 2, apologies. I have not received any. Are there any from the groups? Councillor Hay.
Councillor Hickling is trying to park his car. I think the car park's full, so he'll be in a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you. Item number 3, previous minutes. This time we have got 3 to go through, so I will go one by one. Number 1, the council meeting which took place on the 10th of December 2025. Can I move that these are true and accurate record? Can I have the second there? Councillor Caroline. All those in favor, please raise your hand. This is unanimous. Thank you. Number B, the extraordinary council meeting which took place on the 21st January 2026. Can I move that these are true and accurate record? Can I have the seconder again, please? Councillor Wilson. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Councillor Tony Cooper, is that up or down? Did you raise your hand? Oh, okay. This is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, last one. The extraordinary council meeting which took place on the 28th of January. Can I move that these are true and accurate record? Councillor Hay. Please raise your hand, all those in favor. This is all again unanimous. Thank you. Item number 4, a declaration of interest. Today I have to go one by one, all 3 of them. Number A, any declaration to declare that are not otherwise stated in the schedule of declaration available to view on the council website? Are there any? No. Don't. Thank you. B, members to note the general dispensation granted to all members under S33 of the Local Legion Act 2001 or 2011 on phase 4 of the agenda. Are there any? Oh, sorry, this is just for the noting. Okay, thank you. This is important one. Number C. As for item 4C on page 4 of the agenda, can I seek any declaration from members given the budget on council tax matters under agenda item 11F and 11I? Are there any one? No, thank you. Item number 5, announcement. I've got two, and then I'll be asking to the leaders as well in a while. Two of them are, number 1, I am organizing an event which is cheese and wine and a short history of Nuneaton and Bedworth in Chilwascotton Heritage Centre on the 13th of March. That will be between 4 to 6 p.m. The cost per head is £15. Obviously, you will have cheese and also wine. So if you are free on that day, please join us. Obviously, money raised from this event will go towards the Mayor's appeal this year. That is 13th of March, Friday, between 4 to 6 p.m. The second one from me is the multicultural musical event that is I'm organizing over 2 days. That is during the Easter leave, 3rd and 4th of April. I think, and then I proudly say that this is probably the first time I'm trying this sort of event where I'm trying to bring all the community and their cultural shows together. This starts from 6 o'clock till 9 p.m. It is in RV Theatre. Again, the ticket for head is only £10. All the ticket will be made available from like mid-March. Again, if you wish to join, please do come. It should be really, really good one. The ticket limitation is only 200. So, leaders, do you have any announcement to make? No? Right. I have received one special request from Councillor Guthrie. So, please, Councillor Guthrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight and make this announcement. Before anything else, I want to start by expressing my heartfelt thanks to the residents of Whitestone Ward. Thank you for placing your trust in me, for voting for me, and for allowing me the privilege of representing you on the Borough Council. Serving our community has been one of the greatest honours, and I will always be grateful for the support, encouragement and kindness from the residents of all political persuasions have shown me throughout my time as a councillor. Tonight, I want to share something important. After careful thought and reflection, I have decided that I will not be seeking re-election at the forthcoming borough elections. This is entirely my decision. I have not been deselected, nor has the choice been made lightly. The reasons for stepping down will, I hope, become more clearer as I continue with this announcement. I would first like to thank all the officers and staff who work at the council. So much of what we are able to achieve as councillors is only possible because of your professionalism, your dedication, and the quiet work that you do behind the scenes every single day. And in particular, I want to recognise two people who may not always receive the acknowledgement they truly deserve. Beryl, our cleaner, Dennis, our porter. The care and pride they both show in your work help keep the council house running smoothly for all us. It might seem little small things to some, but they make a big difference. Now I want to speak openly about my health. As some people may already be aware, but I'd like to put the record straight. After a routine test in early March 2024, I was diagnosed with bowel cancer. And in May 2024, following further tests, I was also diagnosed with liver cancer. I then proceeded to undergo 16 weeks of chemotherapy on the Dorothea ward at the George Eliot Hospital. In June 2024, I developed a blood clot in my chest, and again in October, I developed a DVT in my leg, both of which required further treatment. In December 2024, I had major surgery at Walsgrave to remove tumours from my liver and was placed into ITU and HDU before eventually being moved onto a ward. In March 2025, I underwent further major surgery to remove a large tumours from my bowel. During recovery from this operation, I developed sepsis, which also required urgent treatment. In September 2025, I faced yet another major operation to remove further tumours that had grown in my liver, alongside the removal of my gallbladder. Most recently, I've just completed another 12 weeks of chemotherapy, which began in December 2025, again in the Dorothea ward. And I've just come out of hospital, Walsgrave Hospital, 10 days ago, after I fell and had a major eye operation. To date, I've had 19 scans and will continue to face further scans every 3 months to monitor my condition. I would also like to take this opportunity to place on record my sincere and heartfelt thanks to all of the medical profession who have cared for me throughout this journey, the doctors, nurses, specialists, and support staff, and especially at the Dorothea ward, who have shown extraordinary skill, compassion, and kindness for a grumpy old boy. Finally, Mr. Mayor, I come to you. We've had many conversations during your time in office, and as you know, you are firmly in my top 2 of mayors that I have served under. Thank you for your leadership and your unwavering dedication to our great borough and your professionalism. It has been a pleasure to work alongside you, and as a small token of my appreciation, I would like to make a donation to your mayor's appeal. And I have a cheque here that I can give to you, or you can back to transfer the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Guthridge. First of all, I, on behalf of all officers, councillors, and then every citizen of this borough, we are really sorry to hear that you're going through a lot of problems. and that we pray that you get well soon. Also, before I forget, or probably I will forget on the next meeting, I would like to ask everyone to stand up and join me for to appreciate what he has done for the borough. Councillor Guthrie, thank you so much for your service. For me, you are one of those councillors who has done really, really well and done it very fairly as well. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you. Round of applause, please. Thank you. Please sit down. The other one is obviously you donated a check of £250. This will go towards the good cause. Once again, thank you so much to you and to your family. I'm sure the chairman of the Chilvers-Cotton Heritage Centre, they will be so pleased to hear this news tonight. And the other thing is, you said really good thing about me. I don't know whether I'm that good or not, but this meant a lot for me and my family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're doing a sterling job. You're in my top 2. Unfortunately, you'll never be number 1 because I will name the man, and it's a good old lad, Gerald Smith. He's my number 1 mayor. You're very close behind him.
Thank you. That is still a lot for me. Thank you. Right, moving on. Item number 6, public participation. We have got 3 questions and a statement. The first one was, first question was from Craig Garrity, but he's not here. What we will do is we will minute this so that later on you will get to read all his question. It's okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on to question number 2. This is from Mr. Brian Wormsley. Can I invite you to ask your question, please? Thank you. Councillor Hay, you want to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Walmsley, for the question. As you know, we had to put this meeting back a week because after one failed attempt, Reform-led Warwickshire County Council had called another meeting for Tuesday, the 17th of February, one day before our own proposed budget meeting setting. I felt we couldn't risk the prospect of holding our budget and council tax billing meeting without knowing the precept from Warwickshire County Council. Because if Warwickshire County Council had still not been able to set a budget on and precept on the 17th of February, we would not have been able to agree the tax demand to go out and would have had to call yet another emergency meeting. Our meetings cost around £2,000 a time to organise. The opposition leaders agreed this. It was a sensible thing to do, and I'm grateful for that. But it doesn't make it any less messy for us. Officers and councillors have booked holidays based on the original dates. Administrative arrangements had to be completely changed. Tax bill printing had to be put on hold, and that is no mean task. There's a whole series of printers and things lined up to get the tax bills out, and you had to sort of push all that back. It wasn't helpful. So not being able to set a budget in a timely manner has consequences. Goodness knows what we'd have done if Warwickshire County Council had not set a budget on the 17th. And of course, there must have been a cost to the taxpayer of having to have 2 Warwickshire County Council meetings. And I bet they cost more to organise than ours do. We now have a precept, so later in the meeting I can recommend our council tax setting and billing, but I'm not presuming those decisions at this point in the meeting. However, we now know that Warwickshire County Council are increasing their council tax by 4.44%. That's £80.91 a year on Band D. And the Police and Crime Commissioner is increasing their precept by 4.94%. That's £15 a year on Band D property. Our recommended increase is going to be 2.99%, which is £8.12 a year on Band D. So most households in Nuneaton are not going to pay that. Noticeably, our proposed increase is below inflation, where the other two precepts aren't. The Warwickshire County Council increase is despite the fact that Reform stood on a platform of reducing council tax, but having got control, harsh reality is hitting. It seems to me that cutting council tax or not increasing it to the maximum allowed just to make a political point, while at the same time having to make savage cuts, unless of course you're a political advisor, is simply cutting your nose to spite your face. Populist politics, it may be, but it's bad governance in my view. And some of these cuts affect young people and old people very much on the preventative level. A lot of stuff that's being cut is prevention. And we all know if you don't prevent, then you actually pay the cost later. So, Mr. Walmsley, on Councillor Finch's end of term school report, I'm going to write short attention span, lack of attention to detail, could do better. Thank you, Mr. Walmsley and Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The final, this is a statement. Can I invite County Councillor Keith Conductor to read your statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I must say, can we please...
Thank you so much. The leader, you wanna reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Condacor. We have spoken about a number of these items, haven't we? But for the purpose of this meeting, thank you for your statements, which I am noting. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, questions by members. Today we have got 5 questions to go. By the way, I will not be taking supplementary question today due to, we have to go through a lot of points today. So, to ask the first question, can I invite Councillor Amachi to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question goes to the portfolio holder for housing. Could he please provide a brief update on empty properties project and outlining key benefits delivered since empty property officer was employed? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Watkins, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Amici, for your question. Like the grumpy old man over there, I think all of our officers do a sterling job. But the empty property officer was something that we put in our budget, built in our budget, and has seen massive benefits to this council. The empty officer has put strong foundations in place to tackle the long-term empty properties across the borough. A new borough-wide empty property owns database has been created, along with an online reporting tool that has already identified properties previously unknown to this council. A consistent internal process for handling complaints and reports has also been established, ensuring cleaner and faster action. Internal partnership working has improved considerably. A working group, with environmental health now coordinates responses and avoids duplication, while collaboration with the planning, legal, council tax, housing and community safety is helping to tackle long-standing problematic properties and difficult landlords. The officer has also supported the resolution of the council-owned empty properties, including work with the valuation agency in Birmingham. Externally, the officer set up a multi-agency group working with the police and fire, which has enabled strong joint enforcement. This led to the demolition of the King's Own, following a community protection notice. Close working relations with the neighbourhood police teams support escalation of cases, such as a site in Kersley. Notices have been issued on several residential properties supported by planning and environmental health, and environmental issues such as rat infestations and overgrowth have been resolved. Engagement with owners has been proactive, and letters have been issued to 50 longest standing empty property owners around the borough, offering advice and support. Discussions with the King's Own site owners, along with planning and Warwickshire County Council, have supported regeneration proposals. Support has also been provided to residents and builders affected by the empty homes. Policy development is progressing, including a probate support scheme, which is now out to tender, and an empty property loan scheme is under development. The officer is engaging with the MPs and the West Midland Combined Authority to raise the profile of the empty homes and shape the future strategy. And we've also had members of Richard Parker's team come here to have a discussion and presentation from us. We're also a member of the Empty Home Network training, Empty Home Network, and training and lining up with councils and experts nationally for advice and support. This has also made us aware and makes us look at our own empty properties within the borough, and has also highlighted a few properties that are owned by Warwickshire County Council. Overall, the officer has introduced a coordinated approach to empty homes where none existed previously, significantly improving internal systems, external partnerships, enforcement capacity and support for the owners. So everything is going in the right direction since employing the empty property officer. And I hope that this continues in the future. Thank you, Councillor Amici.
Thank you so much. Now, question number 2. Can I invite Councillor Brown to ask you a question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question's for the portfolio holder for business and regeneration. 6 months ago, or thereabouts, the council submitted financial plans to His Majesty's government, setting out how the initial part of the £20 million funding award to government by government will be spent as what's now being called the Believe in Bedworth project. To date, and despite multiple requests for details of the projects that would be funded to be provided to members, the project details have not been disclosed. Will the Cabinet member now either provide the details of the project or explain clearly and unequivocally why they've not been provided to date, and commit to providing them before the end of the month, or concede the plans were, at least in part, pie in the sky made up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Councillor King?
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. This project is run by a board of local community. The council are there just to simply operate diligence. Last week, the plans were submitted. I can send you the criteria if you're not sure, or they now have a website which is up and running, which actually goes through their progress.
Thank you. Moving on to question number 3, is Councillor Schumacher, please ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question's to the portfolio holder for planning and enforcement. And the question is, why are so many planning applications being permitted to reach the final days of their statutory determination period without a decision or coming to the committee? This situation raises serious concerns regarding compliance with statutory duties and proper administrative practice. We feel our hands are tied by the minimal time that's remaining when it comes to committee. What immediate and substantive steps will be taken to ensure lawful determination within the prescribed timeframe and to prevent potential maladministration? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Vincent?
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Prepared response to that question. Planning applications generally must be decided within 8 weeks for minor developments, householders / small projects, and 13 weeks for major developments. Applications may take longer than the standard 8 to 13 weeks if they are particularly complex, require negotiation, require a planning committee decision rather than an officer delegation, or if statutory consultees require more time to provide a response. If a decision cannot be reached within the statutory timeframe, the LPA may ask for a written agreement to extend the period. In the majority of cases, applicants agree to an extension, but in some situations they do not agree, and therefore a decision needs to be made on the application. The LPA has to provide information to government on the time taken to issue decisions on applications. For the period of October to December 2025, 100% majors, 100% minors, and 98% others / households were dealt with within the required time frame. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 4. It is Councillor Djokovic. Can I invite you to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So my question is for the portfolio holder of Business and Regeneration. Back in December, I spoke to Councillor King about grant funding being made available to the borough. I was delighted that some of this funding would be headed towards Bulkington. Please could Councillor King update me on how much money has been allocated to Bulkington and any limitations on how this money can be spent? Would Councillor King still be willing to meet up to discuss how this money could best serve the residents of Bulkington?
Thank you. Councillor King.
Thank you, Councillor. At the moment, we're waiting for the projects to be submitted that fit the criteria before any of the money is allocated and finalised. Please be aware that one of the credentials is that the local MPs are involved in this project. Please could you submit any projects to Jonathan White and include John Slingler? And then in the meantime, I'm more than happy to meet up with you for any discussions.
Unfortunately not tonight. No, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay, yeah. We have agreed to accept your question, so please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a very quick one, Councillor King. Thank you for your reply. Could you let me know, please, what the criteria and limitations are? Because I haven't actually got a copy of those. So they would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Councillor King.
Yes, of course, and we'll get those emailed to you ASAP.
Yeah, that's yes, right? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. The final question from the members is Councillor Walls. Can I invite you to ask your question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is for the portfolio holder for planning and enforcement. Does the portfolio holder agree with me and believe that given the recent media coverage and the known historical issues of flooding along Woodlands Road, Woodlands Lane and the surrounding fields, that the outline planning application by Arbury Estates should never have been recommended for approval by the planning department? And given that the following the reserved matters application by Taylor Wimpey to build the 150 homes, there have been multiple objections raised by Warwickshire County Council flood team regarding mitigation, that the site should never have been in the previous Labour borough plan. As this council knows, I have spoken out against all applications in the Woodlands area since becoming the ward councillor for Slough nearly 5 years ago, and will continue to do so. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Benson.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I'll answer it in the two parts that you've raised. Question, if that's okay. So the first part, the outline planning application was recommended for approval by planning officers as it was considered to meet the relevant policies within the Borough Plan and the NPPF. The Environment Agency and the Warwickshire County Council Flood Risk Management Team did not object to the outline planning application. The planning officer's recommendation was overturned by the Planning Committee. The Council's decision to refuse the application was considered by the Planning Inspectorate and they overturned the decision. And the second part of the question, the Warwickshire County Council Flood Risk Management Team have submitted one objection as to the details submitted are current and insufficient. They do not allow the FRM team to suitably assess of the proposed development. Their consultation letter contains information as to how the developer can overcome their objection. Taylor Wimpey are reviewing this and will provide updated information in due course. The site was allocated in the Borough Plan 2019 as part of the wider HSG4 Woodlands site for approximately 689 dwellings. The Borough Plan was examined by an independent inspector who considered all the supporting evidence, including a strategic flood risk assessment to determine the plan was sound. That answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 8, special urgency. There is none. Item number 9 is the cabinet report. Can I ask Councillor Hay to present your report to the council, please?
The cabinet report is now set out on the agenda, so if there are any questions or what have you, I'll try and answer them, but the report's there in the papers. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask if there were any members to ask questions, but Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's regarding the item 9E that was agreed by the Cabinet on the 3rd of December, the empty properties and support contract. So within the actual report itself, it stated that the service would be cost neutral to the council and our residents. Are there any circumstances where we might still incur costs? And can you guarantee that when granting a contract for these services, there'll be no costs to the council? Thank you.
Is it Councillor Watkins?
Yes, I can guarantee that there'll be no cost to this council. I believe it's still out to tender. It's still live, still out to tender, but the details will be tied up once somebody's chosen. But there'll be no cost to this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 4 questions on the Cabinet report. Am I all right to take them each individually and get the responses?
Yes, one at a time,
I
please.
think it's easier all round. My first question is on page 41 at item D, Pride in Place Impact Fund for Councillor King. I was pleased at the Cabinet meeting to get an undertaking from her that she would indeed allocate funding to Bulkington, because that was excluded from the body of the report. Could she give us a rough estimate, if at all possible? I accept she might not have all the detail, of when you envisage the schedule of projects to be ready for publication, so that members and the public will know what projects are being taken forward as part of the project. Not necessarily timescales for delivery, but knowing what's going forward.
Councillor King, you wish to answer?
Yes. At this present moment, we haven't got the timescales, but as soon as it moves forward, I'll inform you.
Thank you. Question number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My next question relates to the empty properties probate support contract. Now, I don't know, because my question is financial, I don't know whether this will be for Councillor Hay or for Councillor Watkins, so I'll accept whoever. I'm interested by Councillor Watkins' response that it would be no cost to the council, because as part of doing the shadow budget preparations, we've all been extremely deep in spreadsheets and lines of numbers, etc. But I was interested to note that there is a growth item in there of £1,000 for additional land registry searches, which upon questioning is actually for searching properties for probate. Now, that may be the case, but it's at odds with Councillor Watkins' statement. Can Councillor Hay give an undertaking, A, that wherever possible we will seek to recover those costs if we are successful in locating the owner in succession in title and recovering them, but also B, given that we found this, and I'm not saying it was an intentional misleading, but could he ask the department to do a review to make sure there are no other unintended consequences? I accept it's well-meaning and not intended to mislead, but if this has cropped up, I just think we need some reassurance that there's nothing else coming down the line. Okay.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Watkins?
Yeah, you're all right. There is £1,000 growth item in for land searches, and that has got nothing to do with the empty properties. That is to cover any land searches that we need. I've asked for lots of land searches to be done, and was more or less in a bit of a debate with one of the officers once about £13–14, so I offered to bring it down myself. So I've asked for some money to be put into the budget, so that if any councillor needs any land searches doing for any land that we've got, and then it can be done without a problem of looking for money for a land search. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Question number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, that isn't the information I was given when I specifically questioned officers about that. I think it needs to be investigated further by the executive on that line, because I take what I'm given on face value. Question number 3 relates to item 3E on page 42 about the Pride in Place Camp Hill funding. So this is for Councillor King. She knows I have a bit of an issue with boards on regeneration and potential parties who have a direct financial interest sitting on those boards, as I think it doesn't give a good appearance. Could she give an undertaking that any members of the board for the Pride in Place, when it is eventually set up, will not have any businesses or organisations that would directly financially benefit from the funding, because it doesn't look good?
Thank you, Councillor King.
Thank you. I will absolutely promise that that will not happen. At the present moment, the board hasn't even been set up.
Final question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologise to Councillor King because she's having to get up and down, but my final question is for her. Again, still on Pride in Place in Camp Hill, learning the lessons from my experience with transforming Nuneaton all those years ago, even when I was in opposition the last time around, the projects were looked at and evaluated by members of the board, but no councillor was ever included in the assessments of which project should be taken forward, which in hindsight I think was a mistake because it lacks the bigger picture for the council and the community. Would she look at ensuring that whenever these projects are taken forward that there is councillor input? And as a side note, could she also do the same for the Bedworth? I know it's not on the papers, but the principle applies.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Yes, that is being looked at, and no money will be released until it has been passed and it has been looked at through the criteria to make sure it fits the criteria.
Thank you. Are you happy? Okay, our next one is Councillor Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do apologise. We'll be having a discussion, but since there's an item in the report around funds, I just thought to ask a leader a bit of broad question. So Council's own treasury papers tells us economy has not grown since April. Retail sales have fallen for 2 consecutive months. Unemployment is rising. Yields, the cost of borrowing have been volatile, hitting 27-year high. Internal borrowing has depleted the cash reserves. The non-domestic rate retention reserves built over years of growth has been consumed by the business rate reset. In Cabinet's view, not the officer's view, but Cabinet's view, are the finances of this council under control? And the answer is yes. Can the leader explain what under control looks like when every single income lever has been maxed out before the financial year has even begun?
Councillor Hay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I have to say that compared with Warwickshire County Council, this council's budgets and money are fully under control. And in the budget report, you'll see we're even building in some small growth items. We have, a significant amount of reserves, much more than a lot of other councils, and we're trying to be as prudent as possible with you. But I do take your point. At one of the audit meetings, we talked about the borrowing and what have you, and it's also about the income we get from our, lending as well, and that is predicted to go down, I think, £200,000 in the next year. However, the Treasury report says that can be more than compensated for by the fact that we can move money around to get the best rates possible. And Andrew, who does this, I don't know how he sleeps at night, quite honestly, has assured us that it will not affect us. I'm not going to accept that we have a situation where this council is not properly organised, properly funded, and is not looking at this very carefully. I take your point, Councillor Rose, but I am satisfied that we're doing this properly, and of course I'll be demonstrating that in the budget report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any more members wish to speak or ask questions? No. On this, there is no vote. No vote. Okay, moving on to item number 10. This is election of mayor and deputy mayor. For this, first of all, we'll go for mayor. Can I invite nomination for the mayor? Councillor Hickling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I nominate Councillor Tracy Shepherd to be the mayor? Tracy, as we all know, has been born and bred in Nuneaton. You may have noticed that she does not share her parents' strong Liverpool accents. She's been a long-serving councillor of this borough. I believe she was elected, first of all, in 2014, representing Wembrook, and now she represents Chilford Cotton. Her continued re-election shows how the residents support and appreciate her work. She has served, as we all know, for the last 12 months as Deputy Mayor and has chaired a full council meeting. Outside this council, she's also a volunteer at the Wembrook Community Centre. She runs her own business in beauty therapy, and she's a personal trainer with Box Fit, so she should be able to keep us all in line over the following 12 months. So for these reasons, the fact she's a local businesswoman, born and bred in Nuneaton, committed local councillor, and should be able to control our meetings, I would therefore like to nominate Tracy to be the Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for being a bit late tonight, by the way.
Thank you. Can we have the second? Councillor Hancock, you want to speak?
Apologies for that. Thank you, Eric. It's a privilege for me to be able to second the nomination of Councillor Tracy Shepherd, and I'll just hold fire on anything I've got to say until the AGM in May. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to nominate Councillor Sue Markham for the role of Mayor for the next municipal year. She is an outstanding local councillor who takes both Nuneaton and Bedworth to heart, and she is extremely active in the community. She has served both in the borough and at the county, and particularly with children's services, which she took a passion for, because we know that our area has, unfortunately, the highest number of children requiring care and support. And I know that that is something that in her mayoral year she would also take to heart as well, and I think she'd be a great ambassador for the borough. Nothing against Councillor Shepherd. I believe there is a rumour that she has some kind of martial arts training. I hope she has no intention of using it on those of us who vote against her, but I'm sure she will take it in the spirit of political debate.
Thank you. Can we have the seconder, please? Councillor Bird.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm very happy to second the appointment of Councillor Markham and fully support and appraise what Councillor Wilson has already said. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more nominations? No. Right, we got 2 nominations, so we'll go to the poll. So, for Councillor T. Safer. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? I always get confused with mom and daughter. Okay, yeah. All those in favour, please raise your hand for Councillor T. Safer. Please put your hand down. All those in favour for Councillor S. Markham, please raise your hand. Yeah, it was 19 versus 17. So Councillor T. Safer is nominated for the mayor for May. Thank you. You all probably already noticed that, you know, I didn't vote, but I did vote. You are clearly the winner. Yeah. Okay. Forgot. Right, now we're going to move on to nomination for deputy mayor. So can we have the nomination for deputy mayor, please? Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to nominate Councillor Eric Amici as Deputy Mayor. He's been an outstanding councillor since he's been elected, and I think he'll make an excellent Deputy Mayor, and I'll save the rest until later on. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Can we have the seconder, please? Councillor Price.
Yes, I'm proud to second Councillor Eric Amici to be the next Deputy Mayor of the Borough. Not only is he a highly educated and intelligent man who recently completed his PhD, he's very caring and compassionate. He works really hard in his ward of Camp Hill, and I'm confident that he will show the same compassion as Deputy Mayor. And I also think it's really nice to see young people taking up responsibility and positions, because like Councillor Gutteridge says, none of us are getting any younger, are we, Councillor Gutteridge? Same age as me, mate.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Councillor Clark, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to propose Councillor Chris Wilson as the Deputy Mayor for the next forthcoming year. Councillor Wilson has been one of the longest serving members of this council who haven't been elected mayor before and had the opportunity. There may not be many more opportunities going forward with the local government review, and I know Councillor Wilson will make an excellent mayor, having served 16 years for this council on various roles, chairs, leader, and other organisations that he's been chaired and involved with. I know he's very well thought of across the community, and I'm sure he would make an excellent community leader and Deputy Mayor, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have the seconder, please? Councillor Sue Markham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm more than happy to second this, and obviously I concur with everything that has just been said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any more nominations? That is no. In that case, then we will go straight to the poll. So, all those in favour for Councillor Amici, please raise your hand. All those in favour for Councillor Wilson, please raise your hand. Any abstention? So the result was 18 for Councillor Amici, 17 for Councillor Wilson, and then 3 abstentions. So the nominated Deputy Mayor for May this year is Councillor Amici. Item number 11, recommendations from Cabinet or other committees. We'll have to go one by one at a time. Councillor Benson, do we have to wait for you? Okay, we carry on. Number 11A, a recommendation from Local Government Reform Subcommittee, Community Governance. Councillor Head, do you wish to move The recommendation is for page 5 of the agenda.
What page are we on? Yeah.
Agenda item number 11A, page 44. We have just finished nominating the mayor and deputy mayor.
So this is the LGR one, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, I was actually, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I was on the right page, but I was on the document, not on the. Actually, this is one of the problems with being one of the youngest members of the council. You just sort of lose your way a little bit sometimes. Now, this is a pretty big document and recommendation, but if I can turn you over to the recommendations on page 45. There's a lot to discuss here, and the Local Government Review Subcommittee have been through all this. I think when we have a situation where we're moving into possibly, depends what the government decide, having some authorities merged, some of whom have parish councils, town councils, all sorts of things, which for whatever reason we don't. I think that's going to actually fundamentally affect the way we want to organise things, and that's what this is about. However, the problem is we haven't got a decision on what the structure in Warwickshire is going to be. Is it going to be 2 unitaries, north and south, all of Warwickshire? What is it? So, yeah? Yeah, my deputy is fully behind me on this, on a local government reorganisation. He thinks it's probably the best thing that's ever going to happen in local government. That's right, isn't it? Yeah, right, anyway. But we do need to actually, frankly, wait for that decision, because what we then discuss following that decision will be different. If it's all of Warwickshire, it'll be one discussion. If it's 2 unitaries, a northern one, it will be another. So on that basis, I'm going to remove the recommendations, and recommendation 2B is that it is most logical to defer a full council decision to initiate a community governance review until the government has made a decision on the future structure of local government in Warwickshire. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We still need a seconder for this. Councillor Watkins. Of Councillor Wilson, thank you. Oh, sorry. Right, seconder is Councillor Watkins. Right, yeah, we have got a speakers want to speak. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it appears that the Prime Minister should be redubbed the Grand Old Duke of York, because he marches his men up to the top of the hill, then marches them back down again. And given the number of U-turns, it's not impossible, maybe improbable at this stage, that we might see the end of local government reform. I think some people in this chamber might feel that they've been one of the infantrymen sacrificed at the altar of the Grand Old Duke of York. But I sincerely hope that this is another U-turn which the Prime Minister will undertake, and that he keeps the mantra going of marching people up to the top of the hill, because this is one I'm sure we'd all like to get back to base camp again unscathed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Roge.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In my mind, this is kind of very important piece regarding local governance. And in principle, I support deferring the community governance review. I mean, it would be obviously wasteful to begin a process while, simply the local government reform will simply override that. But I think the important bit for us at the council is that deferral can't become a habit of mind. And this is what worries me. Every time this council faces a difficult structural question, the answer seems to be wait and see. We are waiting for local government reform. We are waiting for transformation strategy. We are waiting for regeneration plan. We are waiting on a rent convergence assessment. Can the leader tell me, is there a single significant structural decision this council has actively made this year rather than deferred, noted, referred to a future cabinet report? Thank you.
Councillor Hay, you want to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We make loads of decisions. Just go back over the council minutes and look at the decisions we made. But on this one, it would be improper and not sensible. We don't defer everything. I just don't agree with that. But when it's sensible, and particularly as we're saying and other people are saying, you know, will the government make their mind up? And I agree with the comments you've made, Councillor Wilson. I think it would be completely improper to try and start debating this if we find that what we're trying to debate has been completely changed by what the government say. That's a proper decision. But I don't accept that we keep deferring stuff. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? There is no. In that case, we will move on to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. This is unanimous. Thank you. Item number 11B. This is Treasury Management Update 2025-26. Councillor Bonner, do you want to move?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quickly, Mr. Mayor, if I may, before I move the recommendations, can I wish Councillor Gutteridge all the best for the future? I agree with Councillor Gutteridge on one thing. That's absolutely true, that Gerald Smith is my favourite mayor too. He's one of the reasons why I came into this chamber in the first place, Mr. Mayor. It's partly his fault that I'm here, actually, Gerald Smith. I used to play bowls with him, and it's funny, Mr. Mayor, I stood for election in Weddington in 2012 with Jeff and Keith, and we're all still here 14 years later in this chamber. But anyway, I'll move the recommendations. The Treasury Management Update 25-26, the recommendations, number 1, that the report for 25-26 Q3 report be noted, and number 2, the update to the Treasury Management Practices in Appendix A be approved. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can we have the seconder? Can I have the seconder? Councillor Smith, thank you. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Roach.
Thank you very much. I just would like to draw members' attention to what the Treasury report actually tells about the state of the borough economy, because it's in stark contrast to the confident tone of the budget we'll be discussing later. GDP has not grown since April. It's not slowed. It's not grown. Retail sales fell in October. They fell again in November. Wage growth is softening. Unemployment is ticking upward. This is an economic weather the council is operating it, and yet in the very next agenda items we will be asked to approve a budget that assumes things will get better, that rates will fall, that inflation eases, that transformation strategy not yet written by this council will find 1.75 million savings. I want that backdrop on the record before we vote on anything further. I also want to draw attention to something in these papers that I don't think has been said plainly enough in any committee in this room. The Council is currently in breach of its debt maturity limits. That is not my characterization, it's in Treasury Report at paragraph 7.2. The reason giving is internal borrowing over recent years, while financially sensible in isolation has meant the Council has not been taking any long-term debt. So the proportion of debt maturing in the short term is now too high relative to the Council's own limits. The total debt outstanding is 62.7 million. Nearly a quarter of that is 14.5 million, matures within 6 months, I understand. A further 17.8 million within 2 years, that is over half of the Council's entire debt load, is coming due within 24 months. In a period when Council's own strategy says it is waiting for interest rates to fall before refinancing. Can the portfolio holder confirm if rates do not fall by the time that the debt needs to be refinanced, and history this year suggests that it is a real possibility, what is additional annual debt servicing cost for the Council is exposed to, and where does it come from in a budget that is already balanced to the note? Thank you.
Thank you. Is it Councillor Bonner? You wish to reply?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just state on record my complete and full confidence in Andrew Pillow and in Vicky Summerfield. I think they do a fantastic job for this council. They have been so courteous and professional in their dealings with me over the last 2 years that I've been working with them.
can I invite Councillor Rose to our meetings, the audit and standard meetings that take place on Tuesdays? They are fantastic meetings. I would like there to be more public participation. In fact, it would have been nice if Councillor Rose had joined the committee back in May 2025. He could have been a member of that committee, and it would have been fantastic for him to take part in that. That's all I want to say, Mr. Mayor. I've got full confidence in our officers. I think they've done a fantastic job. And anyone that's ever spoken to Andrew Pillow, the comprehensive knowledge that he has, he speaks with such authority and knowledge in his field. Any questions I've ever had, I don't know whether Councillor Brown agrees, but whenever I've asked Andrew Pillow a question, he's always answered with fantastic detail and made it very clear and succinct. So I'll leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? If not, we will move on to the vote. Please, all those in favour, please raise your hands. Any against? Any abstention? Councillor Roy, did you raise your hand for anything? For? Oh, okay. Carried, thank you. Item number 11C, Treasury Management Practices 2026-27. Again, Councillor Bonner, do you wish to move your recommendation, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I move the recommendations for 11C, Treasury Management Practices 26-27, and the recommendations to Council that the TMP's Treasury Management Practices be approved? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can we have the seconder? Councillor Watkins, thank you. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In terms of Treasury Measurement Strategy, as I understand, and I stand to be corrected, that it is being produced by the Council's Treasury Advisor, forecast dated August 2025, which is now 6 months old, created before Consumer Price Index rose again in December before the Bank of England signalled caution for further cuts. 6-month-old forecasts are being used to approve a 3-year borrowing and investment strategy for a council that is sitting on 62.7 million debt. Can a portfolio holder confirm whether, specifically understand, MFUFG has been asked to update its forecast in light of conditions since August? And if not, why members are being asked to approve a strategy based on data that is already materially out of date?
Thank you. Councillor Bonner, do you wish to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think all I can say really, Mr. Mayor, at this point is I think if Councillor Rose could put his questions in writing to myself and to the officers, then we'd be more than happy to get back to him. And I have to, not to keep on repeating myself, Mr. Mayor, but Vicky Summerfield and Andrew Pillow, they are very happy to answer these questions and provide great detail. And I'll just say again to Councillor Rose, please do come to the Audit and Standards meeting because it's a fantastic meeting. I'll leave it there, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to make a brief comment, really, that it's good to see that we are moving away from having extremely long-term debt in these policy documents. I think that's part of a legacy of previous 151 officers being over-optimistic in terms of the financial situation. And we have seen a number of decisions which, if they were evaluated now, would seem to be, being polite, dubious, at the extreme, cavalier. And I think that is being polite. And I think that's affected both the Housing Revenue account and the General Fund account, actually. And I know it's something that we've had a legacy of both in my administration and the current Labour administration. But I think we just need to be observant in these documents that where we are taking long-term debt greater than 5-10 years, that the rationale is presented to full council when we are voting on taking these decisions, because later on, and having been, I think myself and a few others on the other side have been here long enough to have made voted on some of these decisions, that wasn't actually before us at the time from memory. And I think standards have improved, and we need to make sure that that best practice continues. So I'm reassured that the hand at the tiller is being more observant and cautious than previous 151 officers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? No. In that case, then we'll move on to the vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any against? Any abstentions? 1. Thank you. Carried. Item 11D. This is Treasury Management. Treasury Management Strategy Statement for 26-27. Again, Councillor Bernard, do you wish to move your recommendation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the penultimate time tonight, I will move the recommendations for the Treasury Management Strategy Statement TMSS 26-27 and the recommendations to Council that the TMSS statement, including all prudential indicators, the MRP policy and annual investment strategy, be approved. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can we have the second? Councillor Watkins. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Roach.
Thank you. I mean, I have prepared a different question, but I'll ask this in a way that I hope Councillor Bonner can answer. As I understand, there's currently about 60% of everything Council has invested sits in a single money market fund. There's no fixed term deposits, there's no notice accounts, and Treasury Management Strategy states security capital is a primary investment objective. And what I would like to ask is whether that has been brought to the attention of Audit and Standards Committee, and was it made specifically aware of the concentration when it reviewed the papers? Thank you.
Okay, are there any more speakers? No. In that case, then this one is bylaw request the recorded vote. So I will, for this, I will pass it to EO Tom.
Thank you all. I will call each member's name in turn. Please indicate whether you are for, against, or abstaining. Councillor Amici. Councillor Bird. Councillor Bonner. Councillor Brown. Councillor Bull. Councillor Clark. Councillor Collette. Councillor Cooper. Councillor Croft. Councillor Chekovich. Councillor Dillon. Councillor Etienne. Councillor Gutteridge. Councillor Hancox. Councillor Hartshorn. Councillor Hay. Councillor Hickling. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Jenkins. Councillor Kangura. Councillor King. Councillor Condacor. Councillor Markham, S. Markham. Councillor W. Markham. Councillor Panda. Councillor Phillips. Councillor Price. Councillor Rose. Councillor Saru. Councillor J. Shepherd. Councillor T. Shepherd. Councillor C. Smith. Councillor R. Smith. Councillor Venson. Councillor Walsh. Councillor Watkins. Councillor Wilson. Councillor Wright. 35-4-3.
The result is 35 for 3 against, so carried. Item number 11A, Constitution Updates Report from Constitution Review Working Group. Again, Councillor Bonner, can I ask you to move your recommendation, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I place on record my thanks to the Constitution Review Working Group It's a cross-party group where there's a lot of agreement and collaboration, a lot of creative collaboration. And can I thank Councillor Wilson as a custodian of the Constitution? You know, your comprehensive knowledge of our system, I really do appreciate it, because in those meetings, the knowledge that you bring to the table with Councillor Smith as well. I think Councillor C. Smith and Councillor Wilson, you have a good act going on that review group. So I appreciate and I thank you for your input to this. I'm sorry I couldn't be at the last meeting that you had, by the way, whether this was all recommended. But at audit, we recommended to Council that the number of signatures for motions on notice be amended to one councillor and a seconder. Number 2, the civic honours subcommittee membership list be amended by removing the cabinet member, finance and corporate service, to be replaced with one other cabinet member as per table 2 under 4.3.1 of the report. Number 3, the terms of reference for the shareholder committee be included as per 4.42 of the report. 4, it be ensured all public meetings have a vice chair appointed with effect 26-27 municipal year as proposed in 4.5.1 of the report. And finally, number 5, the wording under 4E.15 of the Constitution be amended as per table 3 under 4.6.1 of the report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can we have the seconder, Councillor Smith? Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Well, if politics doesn't work out for myself and Councillor C. Smith, perhaps we can form a touring double act of some kind from the sounds of it. But I think all these recommendations are eminently sensible. I remember the time when to get a motion on the order paper, you had to have, I think it was 5 or 6 signatories to get anything on there, which automatically excluded my opposition group at the time, which had 3. I think if you are not afraid of debate and discussion, then allowing one person to propose and one person to second is eminently sensible. That's what politics is about, the discussion and debate of ideas. And actually, I think it's vitally important that it may seem like a technicality with the shareholder committee, but one of the things that we put in there is that any member who serves on the shareholder committee must have training on each of the business streams now reporting into the shareholder committee, because they are wide, they are varied, and in some cases complex. And ultimately, it is this council which could be on the hook for some significant financial issues if they were to fail. Not that I think they will, but there is always a risk, and we cannot avoid that risk. And also, it's about clearing up some good governance as well, like having all the other committees which have emerged over the years to have a vice chair without this. It may seem bizarre to members of the public that we have to sit there and vote on who chairs if the chair can't be there, and it just wastes time and looks unedifying. So it's better to ensure that business gets done, really, Mr. Mayor. So I think really it should get unanimous support.
Thank you. Is it Councillor J. Shefford?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My apologies for not standing. I speak on 4.42 of the Shareholder Committee in terms of reference. That's on page 170. As the chair at this present time, I think I'm pleased to see the terms of reference for the Shareholder Committee. I think it's something that I've been asking for. I think it will allow clarity for members, and adding in the training, I think, is the best way forward. And I'm pleased that it'll allow members to have direction on that committee. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Councillor Rose.
Thank you. I feel like opposition today. I welcome amendment and specifically around motions of notice. I think it's very important for democracy that change makes it easier for any member, not just controlling group, to bring issues. Regarding shareholder committee terms of reference, can I have a confirmation whether decisions of the shareholder committee is going to be reported in public, and whether any member who is not on that committee will have a formal route to scrutinize decisions made? And this is especially in light of given recent other constitutional changes last year that reduced the member involvement in those companies. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any members to reply this question? Councillor J. Shefford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will reply. Any member can go to the shareholder committee. Obviously, everything is on pink paper because there is issues there in terms of transparency and other issues. So any member can go and sit at that committee. Actually, Councillor Condacole comes on quite a regular basis. So you are allowed to go to that committee, and I would suggest that's the way forward.
Thank you. Are there any more? No. This does not require recorded vote, so we'll move straight on to the vote. Please, all those in favor, please raise your hands. This is unanimous. Thank you. Item number 11F. This is General Fund Revenue Budget for 2026-27. Can I ask Councillor Hay, Leader of the Borough?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is a 5-minute limit on these speeches. I'm not planning to go on for hours, by the way. It's far from it. But I don't want to feel that I'm going to end up being cut off sort of towards the end of the speech, and I'd like to apply the same thing. I believe that I have to move a motion without notice relating Standing Order 14134 to allow for that limit for the proposer and the seconder and opposite to be removed. So I'd like to do that first. I move that.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor. It's a long-standing convention of this council.
Okay, thank you. We'll let this. We don't like. Right. Are there anybody who wish to speak on this? If not, we're gonna go on to vote. Oh, straight to the vote. Okay. Please raise your hands if you are in favour. That's unanimous. This is now carried. So is it Councillor Hay again? You want to speak?
So I won't go on for hours, far from it. But I would just like to make a point. It's been raised. I wouldn't call this an upbeat budget because that sounds a bit trite, but I think it's a very positive budget I'm putting forward here. And it's a budget that gives hope and, and is a budget for a small amount of growth, which actually is going to help the people of the borough. I am fed up listening to people knocking this borough and what we're doing. We have got problems. It's no good being naive about it, but we are trying hard to make sure that we do help people in this borough and do stuff for them and make the place a great place to live. We've got a huge challenge coming up with local government reorganisation, or not, as the case may be, according to my deputy. But we've got big challenges anyway. So I don't want to sort of sound trite, but this is a positive budget. I'm going to start looking on the first page at the key recommendation here, because we are recommending an increase for Band D of 2.99%. And obviously that is crucial to this budget, because if we change that, we're going to have to sort of change everything else. Can I just remind you that I gave the answer to Mr. Walmsley. An increase of 2.99% on our council tax equates to £8.12p a year for a Band D property owner in the borough, and many property owners are in bands A to C, so they'll pay slightly less than that. It's a small amount of money, and 2.99% is not a huge amount. In contrast to that, Warwickshire County Council, having messed about for 2 meetings, are proposing a percentage increase of 4.44%, which will add £80.91 to a Band D property in the borough. And the Police and Crime Commission actually managed to exceed that percentage increase to 4.94%, with a £15 addition to Band D properties. And I think, that's something, I know every time I do this, or the previous time, I've said that, but I think we need to be aware that our percentage increase and the actual amount increase is significantly low. Now, there's a lot of recommendations here, and I'm going to try and cover some of those as we go through the report. But you'll see at the end of the recommendations, recommendation 2.19 and 2.110, I'm asking if I can have your permission to write to the relevant Secretaries of State about two important items. Now, the first one is in terms of the grant settlement. We have actually done quite well out of the grant settlement. There's been protection put in, but my goodness, I'm amazed that the Section 151 officers have got any hair left, because we've chopped and changed. We were supposed to have a 3-year settlement, which I always wanted, so it gives us some stability. I thought that, you know, obviously we had a new government last year and it may have been difficult, that things would be better this year. In terms of letting us know where we are, why we are, how we are, it's not been very good. And I'm sure I'll get told off somewhere for saying this, but it really, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government have left us almost to the last minute to try and get this budget through. And I was working on this budget with Vicky, you know, as late as 10 days ago, because we didn't know what the final figures were. We've been told it's a 3-year settlement, and yet I've been told that well, they're not quite sure what next year will be. Well, how is that a 3-year settlement when we're going to get it changed from year to year? I think you can probably gather I'm not happy about the way we've arrived at this situation. I'm happy with the budget, but I do think I want to write, and I know that the Section 151 officers are also making similar representations. So I'd like your support on that. The other one is another strange one, and that's the amount that's been given to us for food waste collection. This is a major thing that's going to happen next year. We had a report to Cabinet, and there will be a phased implementation of the statutory food waste collection scheme. It's not something we can decide not to do. It has to be done. And in the first year, and certainly in the capital required to buy the necessary equipment and the bins and what have you, that is covered. When you look further on, you start to think, well, hang on a minute, is this being covered properly in future years? So again, I'd like your permission when we go through the decisions to write to the DEFRA to say, can we have better clarity on what the revenue funding for this will be in future years? Because it's a large amount of money. It's over £1 million. It's a large amount of money. And I'll draw your attention to those. Now, I'm not going to go down every page. I've talked in Section 3 about the local government finance settlement. And, you know, what happened a fortnight, 3 weeks ago, is that quite a lot of authorities said, well, we've got your settlement, we've got the formula, but we're in one case, 1.3 million down. What on earth are we supposed to do with that? And so the government rapidly announced that no local authority would be disadvantaged this year. That doesn't help us necessarily in future years, so we've got to be careful. And our adjustment that helped us this year was 0.46 billion, a very substantial amount. I mentioned last year, and I've mentioned in other meetings, that we were getting concerned about the way that the non-domestic rate was being reorganised. And so it actually turns out that reorganisation has had a negative impact on us. Again, it's being, for this year, it's being covered by support and what have you, and so on. But again, I'm concerned about future years. So I'm talking about an upbeat budget and then talking about concerns, but we have to look ahead into years 2 and 3. We can't just deal with the next year. Okay, so I was disappointed with the number of people who replied to the budget consultation. I mean, we did videos and what have you. I think it was 193 people, which isn't really a representative sample. And one of the things I'd like to try and do is see if we can find ways of engaging the public more. We haven't really cracked this one, have we? And that's not a great sample, but we tried. Right, can I turn you to page 182 at the bottom? Now, At last December's cabinet, the Section 151 officer had to give us a prediction of what she thought the position would be with information she knew at the time. And her prediction was an alarming deficit of £3.5 million. So I did say at the time I thought it was accountant's pessimism, but all I could get from Vicky was smiles like she's doing now. She has to do that. Now, if you go down through that, I'd like to talk how we've got from that to where we're going to be. Yeah. So without going through absolutely everything, so the business rates reorganisation lost us £734,000. However, our revenue support grant from the government, which is why we've been able to do a little bit of a growth budget, had gone up by £2.3 million. The recovery grant and the council tax surplus, £101,000, and the grants for homelessness used to be in pockets. They're being moulded into one budget, but that's got increased by 53,000. Now, as I mentioned in a response, I think, to Councillor Rose, Andrew has told us that our investment income he anticipates will be £200,000 less than it would have been the previous year. So in order to be prudent, I've put that as a reduction in the budget. The pay award, at the last minute, went up from 3% to 3.5%. That's added £84,000 to the budget. And we did actually agree to change the emergency planning service. We've got agreements with other authorities, and we didn't think it was working, but there was a cost to that. And we cannot afford to mess up on emergency planning. We can't afford to do it. Right. Leisure Facilities Management Hub contract has come in less than we thought. We've got it's very complicated, but certain business rate charges applicable to us, we have to pay the charges. So our actual payments have actually gone down. And the changes to the pension fund valuation. Now, this is where we get to the stuff that I think is really worth emphasising. Transformation savings target. We actually didn't put this in because this has been put in a number of years. It's to do with vacancy savings by and large and how we change things. But we felt that was achievable, so we put it back in. Council tax increase, obviously, provided we approve it in this chamber, will give us £336,000 more than we thought. Now, loss of income on planning fees. Again, the planning department, they've been watching what the fees were coming in for last year and earlier this year and felt that we might be lower than we'd like to be by some £60,000. However, things have picked up, things have got better, and so we think that will do what it's supposed to do and break even. So we put that back in. We've got a big problem still with our IT and with buying software and what have you, but a lot of those purchases are one-off purchases. They're not stuff that, okay, there are licenses and things that have to go on. So we've moved some software implementation into earmarked reserves because it's one-off. Now, we've removed the growth for planning legal support, and that's not to get at Matt, but Matt's doing a big reorganisation of planning and planning legal support. Unfortunately, just throwing money at that isn't going to work because we can't get people to come and work for us at the salaries we can pay. So that's being reorganised. We're looking at framework agreements. We're looking at associations with other authorities. And later on, you'll see that I'm putting a lot of money into environment and planning. And we'll get onto it later. We've got the fees and charges, which with a standard increase on those fees and charges that we can, because quite a number of fees and charges we can't alter because they're statutory, but those that we can, we're proposing an increase that would give us £18,000. Now, as a result of that, we've got some money to play with, which is something that's a bit strange in these days. We've actually got some money to play with. So what I'm proposing to do is to put another £55,000 into development control enforcement. It just isn't working. We're not on top of development control enforcement. And that's why we're getting buildings put up and not realising there, people applying for planning permission later and so on. And it needs dealing with. Again, though, I can't just throw money at this. That whole area needs to be reorganised, and the report's coming through about how that can be done. But we want to provide some more help there. Support for climate and sustainability. We've heard what happened when we appointed an empty properties officer last year. That empty properties officer brought to us a whole range of things we didn't, we just weren't aware of. I don't think we're being lazy, we just weren't aware of the powers and stuff that we've got. And he's found a lot of stuff like that. And we want to try and do the same now with climate and sustainability, get somebody in to tell us what we can do, what we can't do. And I suspect there'll be some surprises there when we learn all the things that we can do. Climate change isn't going to go away, and we've got to be ready for it. And of course, if we do it properly, that will save us money, not cost us money. Yeah. Now, this one, include a resource for selective licensing. What that's about? Right. It's about HMOs. There was an interesting meeting of the OSP about HMOs. It's a very, very emotive subject. Lots of people think, HMOs are full of asylum seekers or what have you, which is not the case. If we didn't have HMOs, we'd have a housing crisis in this borough, because a lot of people are living in HMOs, just getting on the first steps into employment and so on. The problem is we don't know where all the HMOs are. There's a myth going around that, well, we know where all the HMOs are. We don't, because HMOs below a certain level, it's 5 or 6, I can't remember now, don't have to apply for a licence. So how can we know where they are? What we learned at that HMO is that some boroughs have introduced a scheme where all HMOs have to be registered, whatever size they are. And there's a fee involved with that and penalties for not doing it. Now, I hadn't heard that before, but what we thought would be good is, again, like empty properties and climate change, let's get somebody in, and on this one, it's not intended for full time to start with, but to get the system of licensing all HMOs off the ground, because if we do it properly, and what we heard is right, actually the income coming from that will pay for this. So we won't have to fund it from, the general fund. It will just be an income generating thing. And last but not least on that, we've got Grayson Place coming on. We've got the carnival, and the revitalised carnival coming through, and we think we need to put as much money as we can and effort into events. And make sure that without being silly, we do provide entertainment for people in the borough and support the businesses, support bid in the borough to put these events on. So I'm proposing that. Now, has anybody added these figures up? No, because if you had, you'd find there's a mistake, there's a typo. The figure for selective licensing should read 40,000, otherwise it doesn't add up. Okay, so I need to correct that typo there. It still ends up then with 11,000 surplus to put back into general reserves. Right. So I think, sorry to go on that bit, but I think it's important we understand how we got from last December to now with the chance to do some positive things without being reckless. I'm sure you've read the report. We've got a whole section on reserves and what have you. I just want to talk about fees and charges. And of course, there's a whole wadge of stuff in there about all the individual fees and charges that you can look at. What we're saying is we're going to uplift them by 3.4%. I'll come on to green bin in a moment. For those that are charges that we can do, they're the discretionary charges. We can't do that to statutory charges. However, what I've asked for is that in relation to the green bin charge, we need to actually look and see, we put the charge up last year, we need to see what the outcome of that was. We are not allowed to make a profit on green bins. So what is the income versus expenditure? Do we need to actually do more on education if we've got any spare money? I don't know. So rather than making it up, I've asked for that to be given a special report. And also, I've just touched on this, we're not proposing in this report to change or increase planning and land charges fees, licensing fees and legal fees, because all these sections and departments are being subject to a review to make sure that, you know, that we do the best we can within the very limited resources we've got available. I'm pleased to say that despite having to tear her hair out with me, the Section 151 officer has said that she will sign this budget off, which is very kind. Thank you very much. Right. Yeah, and then of course, if you look at Appendix A, there is the detail of the budgets, or at least the headline budgets for each of the departments. So that's there. And the summary on Appendix B. Then there's a long section on individual fees and charges. We have to approve those. Obviously, we're not going to go down that one by one, but we need to approve them. I think, you know, I am understanding of what you're saying, Councillor Rose, but this is why in Appendix D we do have a risk analysis. And yeah, I mean, anything has got risk, but I don't want to be feel that because the things are happening outside this council, we can't attempt to produce a budget with hope and which benefits the residents and businesses in this borough. There's a section, Appendix C is obviously about our earmark reserves, and then the rest of it is the, you know, that disappointing response on the survey. So if I can take you back to the recommendations, right, there are a lot of them, but I think the key one is the 2.99% increase in council tax. I'm not going to go through them all. I've drawn your attention to the two things that I would like to write to the government about. And on that basis, then, it has my pleasure to move the recommendations in the report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Can I have the seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Watkins. Does anybody wish to speak? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move the Conservative Group's amendment to the budget, commonly known as a shadow budget. And I'll stick to this because otherwise I can't speak depending on what happens after the vote on this. So if officers wish to distribute the alternative recommendations. Politics is about choices. And the ultimate expression of our choices as politicians is the budget, where we decide to invest money, where we decide to save money, where we decide to look at fees and charges. And looking at the budget presented versus what I'm about to present now, I think ours actually presents more for the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth and addresses the ongoing issues that they face, not just the residents, but also businesses as well. So if I go through some of the key points of our shadow budget, there are some things which we agree on and we were working on separately but arrived at the same results. That happens as part of the budget process. However, one of the key things about this shadow budget is it believes that the cost of politics should not be borne disproportionately by the residents of this borough, and wherever possible, we have a duty to restrain that expenditure. Therefore, our shadow budget that I'm presenting tonight will remove this year's proposed increase to members' allowances of £11,000. Normally, the recommendations are that members' allowances automatically increase in line with officer pay. Given that we have had already this year an increase in member allowances, I think it is absurd for us to be claiming a double increase in members' allowances. Something which I opposed and this group opposed in introducing the uprated members' allowances. We need to put a marker in the sand and say we are not going to increase the cost of politics on that any further. We are also reducing the number of OSPs from 4 to 3. Now, I remember the days when we had the Labour scheme of 2 OSPs, and that didn't work. They were both disproportionately overworked. External was not very highly overburdened with work, and internal was. And then under my administration, we increased to 3, and I think that balance on the whole was about right. Now we have 4 OSPs, which was an increase in what it costs for politics in this borough, and the work streams are disproportionate. And I think, and this group believes, that we can get away with going back to 3 better balanced overview and scrutiny panels which deliver value for money. And also importantly, it might seem a small thing, but removing the member training budget. And the reason behind that is we are members of the Local Government Association, which we pay for. And the LGA provides a range of training products and courses, a number of which are actually free for members to go on if they so wish. So again, it is double spending on something we don't need to do. Other things that we have looked at are, and I agree with the leader on this, that local government reform is unpredictable and we don't know what is happening. But the rationale in the growth items for including an additional deputy monitoring officer is the work involved in local government reform. Whilst there may be some merit in that, I personally believe that that is premature. We do not know what form of local government reform we will get, if we get it. Whether we get 1, whether we get 2, or I think most of us in this room are praying for nothing. But if you do look at the one council, the one area, sorry, which has actually been given local government reform, which is Sussex, I believe, if you read the order from the Secretary of State, the Secretary of State is assigning responsibilities for local government reform to individual councils. We do not know which ones we are going to get. So at this stage, we believe it is premature to build in a growth item for the local government reform work. Also, we have looked at the investment property strategy. I saw a line in there for putting in advertising of investment properties and a strategy to go with it. Well, the strategy isn't written yet, having consulted officers. So how can we put money into an advertising strategy, into an advertising programme, when we do not yet know what that strategy says? It is, to coin a phrase, putting the cart before the horse. It is presupposing something which we do not yet know. Also, there is, and again it may seem like a small amount, but these things do add up, removal of the transport support for NABCEL vehicles. We have long tried to work on a cross-party basis, granted, that there should be cost recovery of whatever NABCEL costs us back to the board and that company. And there is actually a cost involved in doing some of the vehicle works, and we believe that that should be recharged to NABCEL and not to this authority. We do it in finance, we do it in legal, and that should also be applicable to their vehicle fleet. We also have in there, and I make no apologies for this, it may sound as if I'm going against the grain, but reducing what was officially labelled an environmental sustainability budget, but upon further investigation is a net zero consultancy. We believe that we should be focusing on the activities that this council can deliver for the residents. Paying £45,000 for some consultants to write a report on something we actually have no control over, the emissions from Nuneaton and Bedworth compared to China are infinitesimally small. What do we think we are going to get for £45,000? There are things we can do in planning, but that is stuff we can write into policy. Having a net zero consultancy, which will just write about what we may be able to do, is, in our view, diverting resources away from the frontline services that residents rightly expect this council to provide. So let's look at what this alternative budget will provide in exchange for some of these financial changes and decisions. We will be, and I am proud to say this, reversing some of the short-sighted decisions from this current Labour administration. First of all, we are putting back £75,000 into the park refurbishment budget, something I know that Councillor Guttridge, when he was my cabinet member in our administration, was extremely passionate about, and he will not know how much he will be missed, certainly on these benches as well, and he is a dear friend of mine for many years. The officers, sorry, the administration at the time when they removed this £75,000, their response was, well, it'll be paid for through Section 106 funding. Say that to Inner Chilvers Coton, say that to Inner Bede, say that to Inner St Mary's, where there is going to be no massive development which will generate Section 106 contributions. How are those parks going to be refurbished? Where is that money going to come from? These items still need to be replaced. Some of them, unfortunately, get vandalised. I know that we had to fork out tens of thousands of pounds because some delightful little person decided to cut out a load of the equipment up at Stockingford Rec a few years ago. These things cost money. I agree with the leader on that. But this is a matter of where we invest in our priorities. And I believe investing in the family, in our leisure time, and in giving residents that extra thing for their parks is money well spent. Now, one of the biggest gripes I get as a member for many years, and I'm sure this is replicated across all members of all stripes, is the cleanliness of the borough. No matter what you do, there will always be someone who throws that cigarette butt, someone who throws that McDonald's wrapper, and it is like painting the Forth Bridge. You can never, ever get on top of it. But what we can do is try and work, especially as our borough is expanding as well, and that's undeniable that our borough is expanding, put in an additional borough sweep. And why is this familiar? Because the controlling group removed that budgetary provision last year. We put in our budget, before we left, an extra sweep in the budget because we recognise the budget is expanding and we recognise that residents rightly are concerned about the state and cleanliness of our borough. The Labour Party's option was to cut that additional investment into our cleanliness of our borough. We propose to put that back in. We also recognise that communities are the backbone of our borough. It isn't necessarily councils or organisations that deliver community spirit. It is the people themselves that provide that sense of community, those actions on the streets and in the community centres. Not us, although some of us volunteer, but not us as councillors. So we are putting in a provision of £9,000 for community grants. Now, we cannot go to the extent of the county council in providing bids for each individual councillor. We do not have that financial firepower. But we believe that we can put in a small budget of £9,000 to enable those small communities groups to put in bids for £100, £200, £300 to make life and those experiences just that little bit better. Look at what happened when we had the Jubilee celebrations, when we had the coronation celebrations, when my administration put in that funding to enable little groups to put in for that funding. It made a massive difference. I'm sure all councillors who were here at the time can mention at least one project that they're aware of. Myself and Councillor Clark, the then Mayor, went around as many as we could. Even from just paying for a road closure for the community to come together, that was bid for from that budget, and we want to put it back because those small things make a difference. Again, the choice is made by the controlling group to remove in their budget the funding we set aside for a borough party event. A choice. We know it worked. We saw it both for the Jubilee and for the coronation. Our communities came together in their droves. when we had the parties in the parks. People were there from 9 o'clock in the morning until the fireworks at night. And it really brought together our communities, the Nepalese community, the Sikh community. We went around them all, and Councillor Clark I was with all the time during those. And seeing the joy on the kids' faces, seeing those families having that quality time together was immense. It's a little thing that this council can do that means a lot. And then we may be in February, but we think it's time to consign Scrooge to the history books and put him back where he belongs. We will reintroduce Bulkington Christmas lights. It was short-sighted, it was vindictive, and it should be reinstated. Bulkington is the largest village in Warwickshire, and I'm sure my Bulkington colleagues will try and reiterate the fact that it is the largest village in the country. That is what the rumour mill says. I have no reason to doubt it, but it is a community of itself and deserves that village Christmas lights switch on. And I think the residents of Bulkington are quite rightly extremely disappointed in the Labour administration for removing what appeared like a vindictive cut to their community life. And I know that the communities that came together, the individuals, including some people sat behind me, they picked up the mantle where this council failed them. And our businesses, our town centres are the lifeblood of our economy. They drive through the jobs. They drive through bringing the new workforce, whether it be from hiring, having a choice about whether you hire someone to whether you can actually keep the lights on or your opening hours going. And that all depends on footfall. Again, this administration took a decision to hike car parking charges. And we will turn back the tide on that once again with our administration, with our shadow budget. We will reintroduce car parking of 3 hours for £1.50 because it made a difference, because we saw dwelling time increase. Not my stats, those were the stats of the council that showed, based on the metrics, that people were spending longer in our councils. We spoke to people on the doorsteps, we spoke to people in the town centres, and they said, I am no longer watching the clock when I go in and get my veg, when I go and get some clothing, when I go and to the bank. They went to the bank, they got their veg, they bought some clothing, and then they went to go and get a coffee. They went to go and get a sandwich. They made it a trip out because they were not watching the clock. And we think introducing £1.50 for 3 hours, once again, is a bargain to invest not only in the pockets of our residents, because they add it up over the year when they come into the town centres, but also for the businesses and the employees that they represent. So, we have a budget which, unlike the one presented to us, focuses on what we hear on the doorsteps, which focuses on the priorities of residents and actually invests in our communities. And that is why, Mr. Mayor, ours is a far superior budget, and why, if we are elected in May, we will produce an emergency budget to put this into place like we did last time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, can we have the seconder for this alternative shadow budget, please? Councillor S. Markham. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I second it and reserve my right to speak? Thank you.
Thank you. We have good Councillor Hay to speak.
Yes, not to respond immediately to this. I want our group to give these proposals the justice they deserve. We probably won't agree them all or any of them, but we want to look at them properly, understand what the implications are. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask for a short recess to enable us to do that, if that's acceptable. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This is now 8:05. Can we have all back here for 8:15? 10 minutes. Thank you.
Please be upstanding for His Worship, Mayor of Nuneaton and Bedworth, Councillor Bim Saru.
Thank you, everyone. Please take your seat. Welcome back, everyone. Back to the business. We're now going to go to the debate. So, does anybody want to start? Right. This is only on this amendment, alternative shadow budget. So, yeah, Councillor Djokovic.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to speak in support of this amendment this evening, because what I see is I see two very different approaches to sort of setting this budget. I see one which is about feeding the bureaucracy and machine, which I think is what Labour's done. So things like the climate and sustainability, it's a lovely idea, and it's something that needs to be done. However, it's not really a priority. This council's not even going to exist within a couple of years' time, by all accounts. And so what will happen is that will just get rolled over into the long grass, and then another one will be commissioned later. And even if we do get something, what's the costings of implementing those findings? So, we're just feeding this bureaucracy, and I'm seeing that again with including sort of consultancy for legal as well. I do like the fact you've got increasing events for budgets, and I hope one of those would be restoring the Bulkington Christmas lights event, because that only cost 5,000, so you've got 15,000 to play with. And on the other hand, we've got the Conservative budget, which is a budget which I think supports the people in the community and community cohesion. And I think that's something that's been lacking for the last few years. When we were in charge of this council, there was a lot of community cohesion going on. There were events that brought people together. And it wasn't all just centred around Nuneaton or the town hall. Okay, it was centred in Nuneaton, Bedworth, Bulkington. Money was being made available for smaller groups to do their own things within those communities as well, or within the wards that we all represent. So I would commend to you the budget that has been put forward tonight by Councillor Wilson, because it really is one for the people, and it's one that's going to keep giving back to support the residents of this community. They are not going to see the stuff that unfortunately has been put in Labour's budget, and a lot of it will not come to fruition because this council will cease to exist. So this is throwing good money into basically a dead end. It's not going to end up going anywhere. It's not going to end up being seen through to its sort of end destination, because we may not be around in more than 2 years' time. Whereas what we've got can make an impact this year, next year, okay? And it's something that we can hopefully build on, and those traditions which we all value so much as we move forward into whatever new council format gets decided upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm very happy to support Councillor Wilson's amendment. I will talk about Councillor Hayes' proposed budget back when we get to the main debate. I think this amendment demonstrates the sort of consistent contrast between the two groups, the two long-standing groups on this council. One group, which is the current controlling group, the Labour group, sees local government as essentially a continuous process, just something where you go through the motions, and the Conservative approach has been to try and make material and meaningful improvements with public policy to the lives of the residents. There is not a great deal of wriggle room in local government and in local authority finance, but where we can, we try to propose policies and alternative suggestions that are public facing and are not simply back office functions. And I think that's what Councillor Wilson's amendment does tonight. I like this amendment. I liked it the first time we introduced it in 2024, or some of the policies, and I liked it again when we tried to introduce it in 2025. And if it hadn't been repealed by the incoming administration, the borough would be in a considerably better place. And it shows a very clear set of principles, which again we have consistently stood for on this side of the chamber. The first of which is the town centre and the revival of the local economy through the car parking offer. This was a much healthier, much more productive and supporting car parking offer for our town centres. Anybody who works in the retail sector, those of us who do, know that it is a very tough market out there at the moment. Town centres are not getting any easier. That's going to go even more difficult in the Nuneaton town centre shortly with the demolition, and we need to do everything we can to support our businesses and make sure that they hang on and can expand again and grow when the market changes. It shows a support for civic pride with support with the events allocations and grants, and it shows support for communities and, as Councillor Wilson says, families. I must confess, I can no longer remember the list of playgrounds that Councillor Guthridge was able to refit under the rolling programme that we introduced, because we did so many of them. But there is a great deal more to do, and it was a great shame that last year that the £75 rolling programme of playground equipment refurbishment was taken out of the budget, essentially to fund back office functions, to fund councillor pay uplift and to fund an office redecoration. So it corrects that injustice to reintroduce it in the amendment tonight. So, Mr. Mayor, I think it is a definite contrast with the philosophy and the approach of the controlling group, and I'm very happy to support it.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? Councillor Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am actually quite surprised to see such a business and economy unfriendly amendment, to be honest. And there's a number of points. I mean, first of all, I think it's very poor judgment to say that the only way how we can support the economy is by reducing car park charges. At the same time, towns like Bedworth, for example, are suffering from the commercial voids. At the same time, here we are proposing to remove whatever required as a funding for that, essentially leaving towns, essentially not marketable. What about shop fronts? What about, properties which the council has? The other bit is regarding local government reform, and I kind of pick up on a comment saying, well, we may not be around. Well, I think I will be around. I may still be living here, as probably lots of residents here will be living here, and for them it doesn't matter. They're not going to be moved magically spirited away. So I think whatever decisions we make in terms of debt and liabilities and what we are funding will have an impact on the people living here, on the people doing business here. So I'm completely not bought in this ideology that, we can do whatever, and then at the end of the day, this council will cease to exist, because everything has a cost and everything requires an accountability. So in those terms, I quite simply can't see supporting the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Guthridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support the amended budget. We only have to look at the playground equipment. I was at an overview and scrutiny meeting, working party, and it came up about play equipment. Unfortunately, the ward that was mentioned, I don't believe will have any 106 money or building money, whereas the wards that have taken the big hit from the building, from the borough plan that was set out, will have very good playgrounds. You only have to look at St Nicholas. The playground that when I was portfolio holder we built was on developers' money, and it is a super playground, and it is a playground for all abilities, the children for all abilities. Even down, we had the police there, even down to advise us on how to possibly to keep the motorbikes out, how to zigzag, even down to goalposts, that we put slotted goalposts that they could move them along. So the £75,000 will help no end for the wards that have not got any development coming along. And I believe the playground officer and the 106 officer and the parks team have got a strategy now where they are going to move from one ward to another, because there is going to be a lot of 106 money coming back through all the developments. So I fully support our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the Labour's proposals with their budget is meant to manage decline of the town. I fully support our new budget too. I think it encourages usage of the town centre. It's going to encourage more people in. The Borough Party event, all the events that can take place. We need to support businesses in this town. We need to get people in. We had one of the finest markets in the country. We've reduced the rents in the markets. That was at instigation of this group's leadership. And we should be attracting more and more people in, supporting businesses, working with the bid to promote the town. People are crying out for something to do in this town. You look at all the comments on Facebook and stuff like that. They call it, I won't repeat what they call it. I can't say the words in this chamber. But it's absolutely not made. The Labour's budget there, it's managing decline. They've taken money out of what people want and just funding unnecessary things, in my opinion. So I fully support our amendment.
Thank you. Councillor Price.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I won't be supporting the amendment. I'm actually the portfolio holder for public services, and I just don't know where you get this borough sweep annually, 42,000. There's no substance to where you've got that figure from. I actually discussed this with waste management when I first took over the cabinet. And what you don't seem to appreciate, I mean, assume this is to buy a new vehicle or something, is that in your area of the town, in Whitestone, you've got nice wide roads and you can park your cars in your garages and on your drives. But in my end of town, right, we don't have any drives and we don't have any garages, so everybody parks on the road. So you can't sweep the road with a vehicle. It has to be done manually. And the other thing I don't
want to personal explanation, Mr. Mayor.
So, sorry,
I'll come back to you, Councillor Wilson. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, and the other thing is, going on about spending money for people in the borough, we've put in ours 20,000 to increase events throughout the borough. You've cut that down to 10, and specifically half of that money going to Bulkington. I don't get that. Do you know what I mean? Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council is a big area. Why do you want to just spend all the money in one area? So no, I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, please keep your noise down. Right, point of order, Councillor Wilson. Do you know where the breach in the Constitution is?
It's a point of personal explanation, not a point of order.
Sorry, go on.
Of which there are two, one of which I need to raise at the request of the monitoring officer, which is to say that our amendment only supersedes certain parts of the original recommendations, and that everything else we would agree with in terms of the writing to local government on certain issues, etc. So where they directly contradict that ours supersedes. And secondly, to answer the point from Councillor Price, because she raised the point about my speech, is that I didn't discriminate between wards in terms of cleaning. The cost for the additional street cleaning round was provided by officers and signed off by the Section 151 officer. It is doable, it is legal, and perhaps she needs to go back and speak to her officers.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I cannot agree with this view of sustainability and energy efficiency as a cost rather than as an investment. The fact that in this very chamber right now we have the heating on and the windows open suggests there's a lot of room for improvement as far as energy efficiency goes. Now, throughout the borough, better energy efficiency means fewer families in fuel poverty. I think investment in sustainability and energy efficiency will more than pay for itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Next online is Councillor Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It will come as no surprise to everyone that I will not be supporting the Conservative amendment tonight. It is with great sadness, Mr. Mayor, that I lament the movement of the Conservative Party to the right on the issues of climate change and net zero. I won't bore you all with the story of the starfish, but it's a story that we share often at school. I mean, I could share it if you want me to, but it's the idea that all of us collectively can make a little difference. And if all of us together, every single person does their bit to help with the environment, we can all make a difference. If we all as individuals take a selfish view that none of us can do anything, we're a drop in the ocean, we can't make a difference. You know, we've faced challenges in the past, challenges in the past. We can make a difference in this borough, and we should set an example to our children. You know, I'm a parent, you're a parent, lots of us in here have kids. Look into the future. I lament the movement of the Conservative Party on climate change and net zero. I think it is a mistake. I heard talking about short-termism. Turning our backs on climate change is the most short-term thing we can do in this council chamber. So I just want to say I'm not supporting it on the basis of the lack of commitment to net zero and to the challenge of climate change. I think it's really sad the Conservatives have moved on this, because I think David Cameron actually had the party in a pretty good place on the environment. Wasn't perfect, didn't necessarily agree with it, but I thought they were in a better place on the environment. I think this is a step backwards. I think it's a regressive move. And I think for the sake of my family and the sake of all families in the borough, I want to see us to have a commitment to net zero and climate change. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And next speaker is Councillor King.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify a few bits more than anything. We've put 20,000 in our events, which is double, because we realise that events are very important to footfall in the town centre, which this has proven. We work alongside the bid, we collaborate with them. They, this year alone, have 20 events, just this year alone. Car parking is more sustainable, it's been run more efficiently. Harefield Road has the cheapest car parking that I've ever seen. Bedworth train station is now being on par with this. This allows workers to park effectively and save money, which they're really grateful for. When you're on a minimum wage, parking is massive. Also, stats and figures showed that 12% parking is up this year alone. So it's 12%, which proves that the way this parking has been changed is working.
Thank you. Next speaker is Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't cover all the points that have been covered by my colleagues here, but I will be supporting the amendment. We've talked about events. We're not proposing to delete the events that you put forward. This is additional. When we look at the climate change issue, we've got businesses in this town and businesses regionally, nationally, struggling, going under because of the additional costs ramped on them with minimum wage, with climate change costs, all sorts of things. We will not make a difference here by additional spend that will even offset the additional methane arising from failure to collect the bins in Birmingham, let alone what's being produced elsewhere in the world. It's a sort of luxury that we can talk about here because we don't have to face the reality of businesses going out of business if they can't meet these additional costs. But One thing I really think we should be supporting this amendment on is members' allowances. It looks so terrible that we pay ourselves more at a time when the public at large, the residents and council taxpayers in this town and this borough are being forced to pay more for everything, whether it's the cost of living, energy costs, whatever. It just is, well, we've paid ourselves more already this year. We're now proposing to pay more again. The metrics and this sends out to the public at large. We already get slated on social media and in the press, you know, as if we've got snouts in the trough and all that sort of stuff, which isn't really true, but we just looks so bad if we pay ourselves more. And the money that we can save on members' allowances gives back Bulkington Lights and contributes towards grants as well. So we can do the right thing here. Let's just do it.
Thank you. Next speaker is Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be voting for this amendment, and I won't because, you know, we've said this, we've debated it before, members' allowances. Now, historically, council chambers full of hot air, you know, full of the same old, council members, we need to start appealing to whatever party you're from. We need to start appealing to younger people. Now, maybe that's just not been, you know, well advertised, but we have to kind of get younger people in the chamber, and whether that means it's male or female. A member's allowance can support a family on childcare. It can support if you are a carer. It is a very small allowance that enables you to covers your expenses, but it might just, you know, cover a babysitter. Removal of member training. Now, member training is really important. I'm a relatively new councillor in this chamber, and I found it absolutely invaluable. I appreciate there is the LGR, but some of this is really mandatory stuff, and how different councils may operate across board is really, really important. Climate change. We can't just ignore this. I can only echo what Councillor Bonner has said here. You know, you talk about there not being a borough council. Well, if we all took that approach, we won't have a planet left. So I'm not going to vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. A little polite request for everybody. If you are going to repeat the same thing, then please do not speak, and then I will stop you. So the next speaker online is Councillor Clark.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we are talking about the budget. So in terms of what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, I respectfully hear what you say, but I do have to speak about the budget tonight. And it's the budget and the alternative budget that we put forward that I'm going to be speaking about. There's a difference between the controlling group's budget and ours, and that is obviously identified in the papers and has been identified by members already insofar as whether it's for administration purposes, for back office purposes, or whether it's for delivery for our own, which delivers services to the people of the borough. And people of the borough can actually see and benefit from. The cleansing of the borough, and I'll speak about that, is in particular, that is identified as a line in the budget. It's balanced, been signed off by the 151 officer as doable. So sorry to disagree with you there. It's something that can be done for that price. And if it was our budget was being passed, it would be done. In relation to other services and delivering play areas in other areas of the borough where there is not development, I think that's essential because we need to identify where those areas are not going to receive any benefits. There's got to be some balancing of funding and delivery of services. Thankfully, I received in my area not last year, the year before, a new park, which gave a great benefit to an area that hadn't been developed or redeveloped for 25 years and was desperately needing it. There are a number of areas in the borough that are like that, where there is no development taking place, and those areas need to be put in, and that 75,000 that we've put back into the budget will help deliver those replacements. Borough party events, that's in addition to what's already in the budget, not instead of. It's going to deliver services and bring the communities together. Now, I understand that you tell us you're for the communities. Doesn't seem like it tonight. You don't want the people out there getting together and talking to each other. No, I'm sorry. I must admit, I can't support your budget, I'm afraid. I will be supporting this one. Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Councillor Etienne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's be clear, net zero is dead. What you are suggesting here is to spend money to talk about doing something, not about actually doing it. You're going to get an expert in to tell us how to do it. Now, Councillor over there earlier said, well, let's turn the heating down, let's close the windows, let's use sensible light bulbs. We're adults. Surely we can work out for ourselves where we can save money within this borough. We do not need to waste nearly £50,000 for an expert to come and tell us to make sensible changes. We just don't need to do it. The fact that you're prepared to do it shows that you have no interest in service delivery to our communities. £49,000 is a lot of money where we are sitting at the moment. You are happy to spend an additional £11,000 to put in our pockets. I don't want it. I may not be here, but I don't want it if I am. Because I didn't come here for the money. I came here to make positive change. I came here to represent the people of the borough, to get them the best deal that we can get with the small amount of money we have. So let's not pretend £49,000 is going to change the world. Yes, looking after our environment is extremely important. Yes, we should be educating our young people. Yes, we should take responsibility ourselves. We don't need to be told to do that. We're grown-ups. Going on to community events, this is additional funding. We are not taking away, we are adding to. We want to do more. We want to bring the community together at events that support local business, that support our very impoverished areas in some areas of this borough, to bring them together, to give them opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have. Parking, we'll go to parking. The lower the parking, the higher the footfall. We know that, it's a fact, it's been proven. Let's not deny it. I will tonight be supporting our amendment, and anybody that doesn't see that this amendment is sensible, costed and valuable is clearly looking to line their own pockets and looking to spend money and a back office. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor.
Sorry, I object to that remark that everybody's looking. Please withdraw it immediately. It's an insult.
Give us 2 seconds. Right, I made the decision. The remarks made by Councillor Etienne was okay, so we move on to the next speaker. That's okay.
They're not
this
all
is,
right.
This is my decision.
They're
this
despicable.
This is my decision, Councillor Phillips. This is my decision. Next speaker is okay, Councillor Etienne, point of explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make it very brief. In your budget, you are saying you are going to spend an extra £11,000 increasing allowances. That money is going in your back pocket. Fact.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Phillips, you want to switch your
No,
mic off?
I'm going to
Go-
put in a complaint. The
Yeah,
way
you-
you worded it, you're
Go-
just
go-
trying to line
Councillor
your own back
Phillips,
pockets.
Councillor
It's
Phillips,
absolutely
Councillor
disgusting.
Phillips, this is my polite request to you. Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, Councillor W. Markham.
One thing that sort of bothered me when I was on the other side of that room was that people didn't want Orkington to have their lights on for their little kids. They didn't want us to pay for it, and it didn't happen and everything else. That's one of the reasons I crossed over here. Another reason I crossed over here was that one or two of you thought that the money and your wages should go up being councillors. And I said at the time, I did not join the Labour Party for money. And a lot of people on this side didn't join the Conservative Party for money. A lot of people joined the Liberal Party not for money. A lot of people joined the Green Party not for money. But for some reason, the Labour Party feel that it's important that they get more money. So if that's what it's all about, and you're Labour, and that's not true socialism, I'm telling you now. People that are socialists do it because they have a cause. They care about people, they have an empathy about people, and they don't do it for the money. And if that's the type of councillors that you want to employ for money, well, help us. Thank you.
I have never lined my own pocket
Councillor Phillips,
in my entire life.
I can give you time.
And I'm not here for the money.
Councillor Phillips, if you
If I
nicely
was,
ask
I'd
me,
be
I
very
can give you
disappointed.
time. Councillor Phillips, I can give you time to speak, but if you ask politely. Councillor Price, I heard what you said as well. I'm trying to do my best. I'm not being any one-sided here. I'm the chair, and then I'm trying my best to be fair to everybody, so that everyone can have their say. And then if you're trying to distract me, then I would not like it. This is what I was trying to stop. Okay.
On a point of order, could I just move a suspension of standing orders to allow us to continue beyond 3 hours so that business can be concluded tonight?
Can I have the seconder for this, Councillor Clark? Thank you. Next speaker is Councillor Watkins, please. Sorry. Right, okay. We're going to go for a vote. All those in favour to extend the time, please raise your hands. Any against? Any abstentions? Carried. Okay, next speaker is Councillor Watkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, heard a lot of air from the opposite side again, and needless to say, I won't be supporting this load of rubbish that's in front of me. So I'd just like to go over some of the mistruths and misleading comments again. The Borkington lights have not been cancelled. They was there. It was going on. So I don't know what they're on about again, but they won't let it drop for some
Point
reason.
of personal explanation?
There is no point of personal explanation. They're still going on.
Councillor Watkins, please carry on.
I'd love to know what Councillor Chechevic's crystal ball looks like, because we won't be here, he said. Well, I'll beg to differ, because I still think that there will be a U-turn on it, and I still think that we will be here. So we've got a plan for the future, and that's what a responsible leadership does, Mr. Mayor. Not like the group opposite putting the finger in the air. Climate change. It don't exist. Are they Conservatives, or are they Reform, or are they just waiting to jump? I just don't really know yet. So we'll
Councillor Watkins, let's not go
I am talking on the budget.
Yeah, to talk about budget. Let's not go about, yeah,
so,
thank you.
So I'm on about climate change. Climate change is about this. The car parking.
that Councillor Croft was on about, we're just about to open another car park up in Abbey Street. That's just about to be open, but he's going on about the demolition and how it's the ruin of the town. He only seems to mention one town as well. I'd just like to remind him that it's actually two towns, and it's a borough. But we'll move on from that, Mr. Mayor, because he doesn't know anything about that. Councillor Rose, I actually agree with you. Removing the investment properties part would be absolutely crazy. We need to let people know what properties we've got. Otherwise, we do see properties standing empty for a long time. And you know, because I've been working with you on the some of the properties in Bedworth, we do need to get them looked at, possibly put on the market, but we need somebody to do that, and we haven't got anybody, so that's why we put it in our budget. 75 grand for a playground. I'm sure our Parks Department would love to find a playground for 75 grand, because probably wouldn't get you a swing, to be honest. But okay, it'll get you a swing. People are crying out for things to do in this town. Again, this town. It's a borough. There's another town. So please don't forget Bedworth. And I don't know if you've noticed, Councillor Bird, there's